106.7 KROQ is KROQ. We are broadcasting live from San Diego, from the Theater Box, home to the all-new TCL Chinese Theater.
This is very definitely one of those we are absolutely not worthy moments. Ladies and gentlemen, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, founding member of Run DMC, Darryl D.M.C. McDaniels has joined us here on KROQ.
Good morning.
Also the creator
What's
of Darryl
happening?
Makes Comics, which explains why he's here in San Diego. DMC, or
Yes.
should we call you Darryl? What do you prefer?
You could call me Darryl. You could call me D. You could call me Darryl Mack. You could call me DMC. People always ask me, what does my name mean? D's for never dirty, MC for Mr. Clean. But sometimes I tell them when certain people ask that DMC means that Darryl makes cash. So you could pick the one you want to call me, but most people call me D. Most people call me D.
It's
D,
like
all right.
that speech was your recital. I think it's
very vital to rock a rhyme. That's right, on time. It's tricky. Is the title. Here we go. It's tricky to rock a rhyme. To rock a rhyme. That's right, on time. It's tricky. It's tricky. Tricky. It's tricky. Yeah.
Oh my
we
God,
could do that all
that's
day.
the best day of my life.
Holly, you're in the band.
You just performed with him.
Yeah, we got the rock a rhyme together.
That was nice. That was nice.
All right,
Yeah.
Yes.
D, let's talk
Yes.
about Darryl Makes Comics, because
Yes.
this is, you are not a Johnny-come-lately to this. This is
No.
something that you have been obsessed with. Even before you knew you loved rap music, you knew you
Yes.
loved comics, right?
Yes, before hip-hop came over the bridge from the Bronx in like 73 to Queens, New York, and before I discovered 70s rock radio in New York City, because when I was a kid, I didn't listen to soul music, because that's when my mother and father were still young. So they was into Al Green, Marvin Gaye, and Aretha Franklin, so I didn't really have no music. I didn't have
Yeah,
nothing.
you got to rebel against that.
Yeah, you know, I went to Catholic school my whole life. I was a straight A student, by the way, and always on the honor roll.
All right.
Nice.
I'm very proud of it.
All right.
But I was this geeky little nerdy kid, and living in Queens at that time was traumatic. It was miserable because I got teased, bullied, and picked on. But Stan Lee, rest in peace. He's like God. He created Marvel comic books. He put the superheroes in New York City. When I found out Spider-Man lived in Queens, I felt that I could find a place for myself in this world. So as a kid, all I did before music was read, collect, and draw comic books.
I'm getting goosebumps from this story,
That's
by the way.
all I did.
I'm literally getting goosebumps from this
Yeah.
story.
Why do you
That's
think
how
all-
much of an impact it made.
Yeah, why do you think my whole career, I'm DMC from Queens, Kings from Queens, my name is Darryl Mack, I live in Queens. When I found out that Spider-Man lived in Queens, it was over. Because I had somebody I could relate to. You know, I wasn't in a gang, I didn't sell drugs, you know what I'm saying? I was a straight A student. I had to be in the house when the lights came on. My mother was like, when you see that street light, I know I have my behind in this house. So I had to find things to do, and imagination and creativity. And one of the things about reading those comic books, because I was reading all the time, it made me a good student. So everything in the so-called pretend make-believe of Marvel comic books was reality to me. So when it was time for me to get on the microphone, I was sitting there one day and I was like this. I was like, okay, in this universe, I'm Darryl. In that Marvel universe, Thor is the son of Odin from Asgard. He got a brother named Loki, and he got a hammer. That's Thor.
Okay.
But then I looked at myself in this world that I live in. I said, I'm Darryl. I'm from Hollis. I got a father named Byfred and a brother named Alfred, and I got a microphone. So on the microphone, I was pretending to be the most powerful entity in the hip-hop universe. So I became son of Byfred, brother of Al. Banner's my mother and runs my pal. It's McDaniels, not McDonald's. These rhymes are Darryl's, those burgers are Ronald's. I ran down my family tree, my mother, my father, my brother, and me. So comic books allowed me to tell through stories on the microphone about who I really am. I was pretending to be a superhero on the microphone because I was highly and educationally inspired by those comic books that made me feel that I could exist in this world that I felt out of place.
So that literally gave you a voice.
Yes, it did.
That's when you found your voice.
That's when, yeah, prior to that, I was a shy little kid that just sat in the back of the classroom. I was known as the weird little geeky kid that wore glasses named Darryl who reads comic books.
Please tell me
But it
you were
worked out for
able
me.
to tell Stan Lee all of this.
Yes, I did.
Oh,
I met
thank God.
Stanley 3 times, and told him, Stan, you created a monster.
Many,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
So,
for
wow.
sure.
so Daryl,
Yeah.
5 years ago, you decided to get into the comic book business, right? With Darryl Makes
Well,
Comics.
no, I didn't decide that.
Okay.
I actually went for a music meeting, and this is a cool story. I went up to Warner Brothers Records in New York City for a music meeting. And I met with this young man named Riggs Morales, who was Eminem's right-hand man over at Shady Records all those years. And by the way, Eminem is a geek and a nerd like us. Superheroes are all over his house. So Eminem, I love him. So I sat down for this music meeting, and this guy, Riggs Morales, he was very professional. He was like, Darryl, I'm usually very professional in this and that. But he said, I'll never get this chance again. He said, what was it like when you was a kid? And I was like, well, all I did was read, collect, and draw comic books. And he said, comic books? And I said, yeah, comic books. He looked around his office. He said, comic books? And I was like, yeah, comic books. We sat there for 3 hours, and we talked about comic books because we thought it was just the hip-hop and the music we had in common. But he was a Latino kid from the Bronx. I'm an African-American kid from Queens. And we had a lot in common besides the music. So after I told him, yeah, I'm Superman, Batman, Captain America, Hulk, Spider-Man, everything, and this and that, he said, D, you should do a comic book. And I originally said, nope, you're not going to get me in trouble. And he said, why not? I said, you ain't going to have my fellow geeks and nerds mad at me for thinking, because musicians are funny and entertainers are funny. Just because they have hit records, they think they can do everything.
Right.
So I didn't want to do a comic book and disrespect the culture of, the geeks and nerds because it's a sacred thing.
Yeah.
And Riggs, he laughed it off. He said, yo, that's really cool, D, but you could do with a comic book what you've been doing with your music for the past 35 years. And I was like, what you talking about, Riggs? He said, inspire, educate, motivate, and entertain. And when he said that to me, I said, yo, I'm in. And then he said, okay, you can't use Marvel, you can't use DC, you can't use Image, you can't use anything that's out already, you can't use Valiant. What would you call your comic book? And I sat there and I was like, man, I can't use Marvel, shucks. Can't use DC. And then it just came to me. DMC, Darryl Makes Comics, because that's what I'm going to be doing.
I mean,
There it is.
So,
There it is.
It
That's an
was-
origin story right there.
Yeah, that's the origin of it. I didn't want to do it, but Rick said, yo, you can do something that'll bring people together, inspire, motivate, just like all of the records that I've always made. Because
How many titles do you have from the company?
Well, right now,
How many different books do you put out?
Right now, we have a graphic novel. I'm up to issue number 3 with the graphic novel. We're getting ready to release graphic novel number 4. And in those graphic novels, we reintroduce all the characters and the superheroes. And then we're going to start doing the monthlies. So we have a 16-year-old female superhero because girls kick ass.
Amen. You guys
No
cheer
applause for that.
Yeah,
Come on
older-
now.
Come
For
here,
God's
give it
sake.
up. Give it up. And it's going to be something that everybody can relate to. If you're 3 years old or if you're 130 years old, you will be able to pick up a DMC comic book and find something that you can relate to. Just the same way that all of us from generation to generation was able to be attracted to whatever it is, because if y'all don't understand this, we are all products of pop culture. Like I sit here before you, I am Fred Flintstone. I am the Munsters. I am the Addams Families. I am Huckleberry Hound. I am I Dream of Jeannie. I am the Jetsons. I am Tony Starks. I am Bruce Wayne. I am Superman. So all of those things allowed me to be successful of whatever I would choose. I don't care if I wasn't rapping. You know what I'm saying? If I was a cook and I was a baker, I'd be the superhero baker because I was inspired of the greatness. Because when you look at superheroes, they're really complicated individuals.
Yeah.
Sure.
When you
true.
look at those worlds of those superheroes, as powerful as they are all just like us. So it's okay not to be okay, because we are all working for the same thing. So when you read my book, we're going to deal with social issues, political issues, religious issues, musical issues, current issues, young issues, like the little kid in kindergarten that got problems. I'm going to address that in my comic book. And the 90-year-old man that lives down the block from you, I'm going to address those problems. So it's going to be a universal experience that
That's
will be able
fantastic.
to empower all of you the same way that Run DMC and Aerosmith, when Steven Tyler took that microphone and knocked down that wall in that Walk This Way video, people said, yo, DMC, that didn't just happen in the video, that happened in the world. So everything that's going to go down in my comic book is going to be something that's going to assist all of us on our journey as we partake in this wonderful life together.
Are you sure you're not the Reverend? I mean,
Honestly,
seriously, this
Wow.
is church,
I was
man.
just about to say,
This is church.
You took us to church, and that was the best TED Talk I've ever listened to.
It really was.
No, I'm not a reverend, I'm a superhero.
That's right, I
Here's
forgot.
what I want to say
Yes,
quickly
yes,
is that,
yes.
like, in the 90s,
Yeah.
I was quick to judge. I thought people were coming down here and comic books were nonsense, right? And then a guy worked on our show named Ralph, and he told us, no, this is a real thing.
Yeah.
You should come down and see it. And we came down and we saw people, and we saw true inspiration and true
yeah.
friendship and
true happiness.
True happiness. Everybody here is so happy. And it
Exactly.
100% changed my mind.
It's very diverse, people from all
Yes.
over the world, all walks of life, and that's the beauty of it. See, you had to come experience how cool comics are.
I was stupid, and
Comics
now
are
I'm not
cool.
as dumb.
Yeah, people don't know. Look, the world does not know that it's the geeks and the nerds are the real gangsters here. It ain't the hip hoppers, it ain't the gangbangers, it ain't the drug dealers, it's not the mob, and it's not the mafia. The geeks and the nerds rule because you got to understand something. We create everything that's cool. We create everything that solves problems. We create everything that people can relate to. There would be no movies up on the big screen in Hollywood if it wasn't for the comic books that they made over 100 years ago.
There you go, ladies
Think
and
about
gentlemen.
that.
There you go.
It's because of us, not because
Darryl
of Hollywood.
McDaniels 2020. Darryl McDaniels
Yes.
2020, you guys. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes.
The
DMC
Darryl
in a place to be, and I make comic books just like Stan Lee. What?
There it is. Darryl Makes Comics is the imprint. Look for him all over Comic-Con. You're welcome on the Kevin and Bean Show any damn time you want. Darryl, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you for having me. Keep it rocking, y'all. Comics are cool.
It's Kevin and Bean on